Jess?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Flores. I'm the shorter of the two Jessicas. I am Senior Director of Customer Experience and Strategic Planning. So my primary role is making sure that what we build and what we implement is really going to resonate with the users of the product. Other Jess?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I think I've met a couple of you before. My name is Jessica Mackey. I'm a senior strategist here at Ascenta, working very closely with Jessica and Bruce, trying to think through what makes sense for the users. I'm also responsible for the Qualtrics strategy as well, going through my certification now. And I've been working really closely with Tom on kind of bringing this prototype to life. So I look forward to getting your feedback.
Okay. And that's our team. Mary Beth, and maybe further everyone, if you and Paul want to just make introductions.
Sure. So this is Mary Beth McBride. I'm one of the senior AEs on the healthcare account executive team. We are part of a special, vertical within Qualtrics focused on healthcare. I work in the West region, and Trevor Jensen, I don't know if Trevor's on this or not, is kind of the enterprise counterpart to me in the West. But yeah, just got across the finish line with LA Care with their SuccessFactors renewal with a piece of Qualtrics in there. So know that that's one of the targets initially that I'm working on with Paul, and I are working on with Darren.
Excellent.
Yep. Hey guys, I am Paul Hatch. I'm an account executive here on our healthcare team, and actually it was just this quarter that I specialized in healthcare. So really glad that I came in when the industry was just peaceful and nothing going on, but no, it's been good. So.
Nothing going on at all in healthcare. Yeah. And again, Bruce Patillo, I'm responsible for our Ascenta Digital practice, which is the digital strategy arm that then ultimately we help build out the experiences that are then ultimately enabled by SAP technology. So again, the broker experience management piece is part of an initiative we've been working on with Darren Bovin. Today we wanted to kind of just walk you through, what we've done from a strategy perspective in trying to get to this prototype concept, and then looking at how we've actually deployed this in ICM and Agent Connect. So really kind of looking at those two sides of it. Getting any, as we go through this, getting any feedback from you is, so what we've done, if there's ideas or thoughts that you have that might improve the experience from a Qualtrics standpoint, definitely open to those ideas. And then if there's anything questions wise we may have from a technical standpoint, I know we've talked about you may not have all the answers, but if there's something we needed based on this discussion, maybe you could help us get the right resource from the Qualtrics and sound good. Perfect. So with that, Jess, I think I'll turn it over to you to kind of walk through the strategy and how we got there, and then we'll pass it to Tom White to walk you through the demo of how that works. So Jess, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. I'm going to probably spend a little bit more time on this roll-up slide and less time on the detailed strategy sides, just because I think we mainly want to spend a lot of the time showing you the intercepts that we've built and have you help validate the value of those intercepts at the specific points in the journey, the broker's journey that we've built. But to us, the process is just as important as the product that's built. And so we put this 5-phased strategic framework in place for building out this product. And the first phase really focuses on the existing experience of the brokers. For this initiative, we really focused in on the broker journey, but in an ideal situation, we would build experience maps for not only the broker, but for the active agents as well as the members. We build out these journey maps through a virtual mapping workshop. We use Miro, that tool I'm sure you guys are familiar with. And during that building out the maps, we identify all of the imperative activities and the crux points that are most important to the broker as they're working through the onboarding and their engagement with the providers. So after we, oh, excuse me. Sorry, after we go through and we define those imperative activities and crux points, we work through intercept identification and defining where those intercepts should be placed along the journey, as well as the types of creative, the Qualtrics creative that can be leveraged to pull data at those specific touch points. Then we move into the integration, which is for this purpose, we built the Intercept integration with Agent Connect and ICM. And then, we launch and optimize both the intercepts and the touch points, whether we need to build more intercepts or change the intercept based on the data and the responses that we're getting from each of the intercepts. So that's kind of just our framework for building what we've built. Just to give you some idea of when we go into detail around each of these, this is just a visual of the experience maps that we build. We build our journeys. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with all experience mapping. So we build our journeys, across 5 phases. These phases are specific to the broker journey. So they're onboarding, setup, ICM, engagement, and then reporting and data. Obviously, those phases are different dependent upon what we're mapping. We also work through identifying the systems that support the journey at each of the phases so that we know where we're going to be integrating the intercepts, and if we have any roadblocks on integration, we define those kind of right up front so we know what we're working with.
Hey, Jessica.
Yes.
Sorry, super quick question. So when we're talking intercepts, and the reason I clarify, from the Qualtrics perspective, we have a product line that is our website intercepts. Is this something that is kind of like that popover or like a website intercept of the survey or feedback, or is intercept in this sense just like a point where a survey might go out, but it could be via email or some other method?
It is both. Once we get in, we look at all of the intercepts that were offered from Qualtrics, and some are, pop-up based, and some are emails, some are survey sent. So it's both. It's dependent upon the touch point and what we think what type of intercept makes the most sense at that touch point.
Okay, that's helpful.
Thank you. And feel free, anyone, please, just shout at me if you have questions or want me to go back. But what we map in our experience mapping sessions are the activities. So every activity that a broker is taking along each phase of the journey, then we align all of the data that's either available or needed at each of those activity touch points, and then the systems either where the data lives or where the engagement is happening. And like I mentioned, we build something that looks like this across those 5 phases. And then we work through the impactful actions and the crux points. And how we define an impactful action is something that's being done. And it may even be, happening in an ideal way, but it's critical for the broker's experience. So we want to hone in and look at what that touch point is. We define a crux point as a point in the journey touch point in the journey where that activity is not meeting the broker's expectations. And what we found is, there's a lot of these crux points in the onboarding phase and a lot in the engagement and reporting and data phase. So we want to do an analysis of both of those impactful actions and crux points to define where should we really be focused on this intercept placement. When we build experience maps for the 3 personas that I mentioned in the earlier slide, we want to look in aggregate where the frequency of impactful actions and crux points are happening so that we can be keenly aware of where our focus needs to be, whether it's by phase, like I mentioned, onboarding, reporting, and data, or if it's by persona, say the member is just having tons of crux points happening at the engagement phase, a number that's not comfortable for us, then we need to put some focus around there, around that section. Like I mentioned, then we review the Qualtrics intercepts that are available and make decisions around how to build those out. So I think if there's not any questions just around our general framework, that it might make sense to jump into the demo of the intercepts. And then if there's any questions around why we thought these were the impactful either touch points in the journey to place the intercept, or questions around why did we use this intercept over another, I think those conversations would be really helpful. And also any thoughts and feedback that you guys have from your experience in this space along, we've placed the intercept here, but it may be more viable at a different touch point. Please, let's bring those conversations up, because we want to leverage your experience. Okay, Tom,
Sure.
I will pass it to you.
Okay, so from a technology perspective, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the product called ICM. Are you guys familiar with that product? Can be called Sales Performance Management, but it's basically a product that SAP sells focused in the insurance space, so to carriers who then need to onboard brokers and producers, and then obviously show them things like compute their commissions and give them a portal. So inside of this ICM package, in the center is what I'll call the brain, where they do all the commission calculations and all the back office stuff. But from a broker's perspective, their first step into SAP is what's called their workflow onboarding tool. So that's, to register yourself, put your NPN number in, go through the process, become officially a broker for instance, LA Care. Once that's over, then you start jumping into an application they call Agent Connect, which is in essence the broker's view into their policies, their book of business, their commissions, their commission statements, so on and so forth. So from the technology side, the challenge was, how do we get the best of Qualtrics to work with inside these applications? So how do we use the web and app intercepts so that they can actually be used and not just simply an email survey with a URL? So we've worked with both of these teams for the past few weeks. They had to make some changes on their end, so we've been working with them. I wouldn't say it's fully ready, but what you'll see today is pretty much 95% the way there. So I'll just kind of show you quickly what we've done in one of the applications. So this application is called Agent Connect. Again, this is what a broker would log into after they're onboarded. And what you'll see is it's a very similar look and feel to SAP's kind of tile-based Fiori strategy. So, I think the challenge is a lot of SAP applications, just like the one you're seeing today, can't really use Qualtrics. So we worked with them on things like, for example, the first thing an agent really cares about is his or her commission. So it does have the ability that when you hover over and spend a certain amount of time on a specific tile, in this case commissions amounts, we can actually display a specific creative relevant to that, and then we can start actually addressing that concern. So for example, are your commission numbers accurate? Yes or no?
Sorry, is there something being shared right now? I'm not seeing anything.
Please share your screen. There we go.
Oh, so you guys weren't seeing anything?
Now I am, yeah.
Now you're good. Okay, so maybe I'll just revisit this slide really quick so make it sense. So that product ICM, it really has two portions that brokers and agencies. One is called onboarding, that's the onboarding solution, and the other one is called Agent Connect. So let me go, now that you can see my screen, let me go back into Agent Connect. So this is Agent Connect. This is the broker's view into their data. So they have, in essence, a bunch of tiles that an implementation would configure. So things like their active customers, their expiring policies, their bonus amounts, their commissions, a hierarchy. So what we've worked with their product development team of SAP is around utilizing the web-based intercepts so that we can start utilizing Creative. So we can use that now inside of this tool on a tile basis. So if I start hovering over a specific tile like commission amount, we can actually understand which tile we are. We can understand what type of broker we are, and we can start deploying a specific creative behind the scenes to it. So in this case, if I'm hovering in and focusing in on a certain amount of time on my commission, we could deploy an intercept like this, a creative saying, are these numbers accurate? Yes or no? And then, in essence, now we're in Qualtrics, which you guys know very well, to take them through that process if, for instance, it isn't accurate. So in essence, chat with us, call with us, submit a ticket, and then, have we solved your issue? So we can do that on any tile the customer wants. So for example, if they come into expiring policies, which for brokers, obviously their renewals are extremely important. So in this case, we're asking them, maybe something that the healthcare provider is wondering, such as, should we be reminding you when your policies are expiring? Would that help you? Yes or no? So really the point is, in the demonstration to just kind of show the different flavors of Qualtrics that you can use inside of it. The other thing that we can do is that we're working on is around understanding where the broker is. So we know that onboarding, if you have a bad onboarding experience, it's going to lead to a big loss in not receiving the full book of business of that broker. So we're working to, have in terms of data points that we can use, such as how many days since your last onboarding, what type of broker are you? Are you a producer, a single producer? Do you work for a large agency? Which agency do you work for? So have those type of attributes available for the customers like LA Care to really personalize their intercepts that they engage with the customer in. So we can do things like that. And then again, obviously you're in Qualtrics, so we'll walk them through whatever. In this case, we're asking them, how satisfied are you with us? Give us an understanding of how we're doing on the accuracy of your commissions, right? So we're going to later see if there's a correlation between NPS and if we're being accurate in commissions, if that's really the driving factor or not. And then obviously some free text that we go into do things like Text IQ and other text features inside of dashboards and stuff like that. Some other areas that we've put into place right now is around if you go to, for instance, a certain page. So if you're looking at your book of business, we can understand what page you're on. We can understand what you've searched for, and again, deploy a different intercept and creative. So in this case, it's asking you to confirm that what you're looking at is correct, and if not, obviously generate a ticket or take action on it that we need to do. Finally, we have a lot of brokers. They simply log into the system. We've seen they don't look at the tiles. They just come actually and go right to their statement. It's what they're used to. So we wanted to make sure we had a way to engage with them. So if you actually trigger a statement in the solution, you can decide to, when you come back, to actually trigger an intercept in a creative related to that specific statement as well. And then, of course, we have our general feedback bar that we ask them, is this helpful? This dashboard, is it helpful to manage your business? This is both, their feedback to us on how they feel about LA Care, but at the same time, from a product perspective, this is a solution that they're giving their brokers that's a differentiator. So, we want to engage with them on how can we make this solution itself better. So in this case, would these new dashboard ideas be beneficial to you is kind of the example we came up with, and then we put an NPS score inside of it. Before that, all they really had was this feedback link that was up here. So in the last couple of weeks, those were the series of intercepts, at least the intercept abilities that we've identified. Any questions on the front end part? I'll switch over to the back end and I'll kind of show you the connection around collecting this data and then looking at it.
Any overall thoughts or initial thoughts on how it flows?
No, I think that makes sense. Might want to tweak some things on what those questions are, how they're worded, options for responses, types or whatnot. But I think ultimately, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's a good way to kind of target some of those specific workflows that they're coming in to perform.
All right. So on the back end side, the most important part there is, for us that we're able to tie that back. So the other part that we had to work on from a technology perspective was to do an authentication. So you didn't see it, but we're able to tie back to the actual Qualtrics directory. And then we are able to send back as embedded data some important fields that are going to help us for either processing the request. So in this case, we know what statement they were having an issue with, or we know what tile that they were having an issue with. So if we actually wanted to transition into a ticket, we could better serve them. At the same time, we pull in so for brokers, the hierarchy is extremely important. So if you're going to be someone from LA Care, you're usually going to be responsible for overseeing, as a partner, the partner agency of a broker agency. So a large agency that brings you a large book of business and then has obviously producers under them. So we're able to capture that type of information as well. And then obviously that will allow us from a dashboarding perspective to be able to not just do generic onboarding scores and NPS scores and all the other jazz, but they'll be able to drill down actually into the specific what's called at the highest level. Usually it's an FMO, but an FMO in these agencies and sub-agency levels. So we built some dashboards around that capability that will help with, and this is, again, we're in Qualtrics, so you guys are fully aware of this side of the equation, but that's what we're able to pull together on that side.
So is the anticipation that LA Care would, monitor this data, be looking at the dashboard through a Qualtrics login and everything, or are there other ways that we're integrating this in with, say, like tickets, that it's going into some other SAP side of things for creating tickets, follow-up, anything like that? Or is it, hey, we could do, other integrations with systems that you have on the back end, depending on what you're using, but the standard offering for the broker experience management is that we set these up in the Sales Cloud, and then your data flows back. You have access to these dashboards, and then from there we would figure out, does this need to flow into anything else?
Yeah, exactly. And definitely in the demo flow, we have the ticketing side of creating tickets for certain responses. To your question around, I think I've been told they actually use Salesforce. So I wasn't so certain what we should go into around creating a ticket and say C4C, but there is, I know that the product development team of SAP have come out with some new integrations. I don't know if they've activated in our system yet, but there's one they built for ticketing to create that ticket in SAP Service Cloud, Cloud for Service. But that would be our goal. And then obviously, we can do other things like SAP Contact Center, which I don't know if you're familiar with that tool, but that is a chat, a multi-channel tool that we can put on these applications as well. So those are things that we can also upsell into. And then the other one is around Gigya, and that's called Customer Data Cloud, which manages consents and identities and all those types of things. But right now,
Okay.
we just, trying to work with SAP product development on breaking down this barrier to at least get Qualtrics to the best of Qualtrics to be inside of at least these applications. So
Yeah, and if needed, we can always talk to what those other integrations might look like for data processing on the back end.
do you know if LA Care is this? I think I've been told they're a Salesforce user. Do you know if that's true from your guys' working with them?
I have no idea. I've never actually talked to them. This has just been through Darren.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, and again, this is, from a business perspective, right? The overall view is to ultimately create a better experience for the broker so that they sell more LA Care, so that they sell more Kaiser Permanente. Ideally, you're going to be leveraging Qualtrics experience management. The broker is a customer of the carrier or the provider, right? So by putting these intercepts, leveraging Qualtrics to streamline various experiences, ultimately you're going to make that experience with, say LA Care easier, so the broker and their agents will want to do business with you more frequently. And have it tied into the commissions and onboarding modules. And again, and then this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's a variety of other ways that you can integrate into that broker journey that Jessica was talking about earlier. There's a variety of other areas in which you can integrate into to drive that experience. But for this prototype, it was around Agent Connect and ICM.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, overall thoughts. This is playing into the SAP ecosystem. This is obviously a play from the SAP standpoint. Trying to drive more sales of commissions, of that side, as well as Qualtrics, and creating this broader broker experience management module kind of message. Thoughts? Any concerns you see based on your experience? Any potential pitfalls or challenges?
No, I don't think so. I think it seems pretty straightforward to how we typically would use the intercept, because it's kind of SAP managed, SAP paper, SAP SKUs of Qualtrics. They're able to kind of scope that out and price that out as needed, and it matches with what we would need on our side. So I think it makes sense. I think there's definitely good value here to kind of get something up and going, and then there's definitely plenty of space to continue to reiterate and sophisticate their program as they go, and again, plenty of other options for what we might do with stuff on the back end as well. If there's other ticketing systems or data systems that this type of information would be relevant to tie back to.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's like now that we've gotten through this technology wall, it really comes down to the messaging and the hitting the right point. So definitely, if you have any, we know that how critical onboarding is and things like that, but definitely if you want to work with us to help craft, because once setting up, changing the questions and this and that, it takes it's not very long, but obviously some things resonate better with customers than and maybe some are different than others. So on that side, it'd be great to get your feedback on, now that you kind of seen what you can do in Agent Connect, and obviously I think we would put something in there around an email survey as well, but what things that you think might resonate the most with just based on your experience dealing with the same type of customers?
Yeah, I mean, in general, when we're thinking about customer experience programs and CX initiatives, there's usually the layer of transactional and those key moments that matter. So exactly what we're looking at here. The only other thing I would consider is, having like a relational study that might go out, and that might be something that's annual or biannual via email, but it kind of gives that baseline, NPS or whatever metric or metrics we're measuring through this. And then all these transactional elements start to identify, okay, from an overall perspective, we're sitting here. What about these specific points along the journey are contributing to that? And how can we start to, make those improvements? So that's the only other piece that normally, might be a part of a program like this. But again, easy to implement that or kind of have that as a ongoing, more relational side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
From a sales process standpoint, so there's calls coming up with LA Care and Kaiser Permanente to walk them through. From a Qualtrics standpoint, how how involved, being that this is SAP with Darren is kind of driving this, how does that work from your perspective and being part of the sales process and the pre-sales engagements? How is that working, or how should it work?
So far, at least in my experience, I really haven't been very involved. I mean, Darren kind of told me that he was working on this and wanted to pitch this, but I think I plan to be a part of the conversation and the call. Kaiser Permanente would be Trevor and not me,
Yeah.
but LA Care.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's like I'm happy to speak to that, or happy to speak to, okay, where else can we go from here with Qualtrics if that needs to come up. But for the most part, I mean, what we're planning on and kind of the way that Darren has approached this too with us is like, hey, this is SAP led. We'll bring you business, we'll keep you involved, but most of it's going to be on his side.
Right. And that's and working with Darren, like I said, and I know from a Qualtrics standpoint, like we talked about before, and we spoke with Gotham too, is we know your resources are kind of bottlenecked, so we took the initiative on to build this out and work through it. But we want to be, we're kind of sitting in the middle between SAP and Qualtrics, right? Want to be good partners on both sides. I want to make sure that we have the alignment and buy-in from everybody. So obviously it's wonderful that we want that you want to participate and be part of the sales process with LA Care, and we'll do the same with Trevor, with Kaiser, and then just continue to build on it as we have further engagements and conversations. Tom, anything else from that standpoint for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would ask two things. One would be when we go to demonstrate this, if you guys already do you already have the awesome killer broker dashboard that we might be able to use in these sales cycles that is far more built out than what we have so far and shows off all of the functionality and the capabilities? I say that because in our system we have some things deactivated, like we can't do text, we can't even do like I think Text IQ and stuff like that. So and plus, if you had something that resonates very well, maybe we can utilize that.
Let me look really fast.
And then secondly, I would ask more to Bruce is, who can you talk to get those missing pieces that we need to, because if we're going to use our system, we should really be showing every, the best of Qualtrics. So we're missing a few things inside of this.
I don't know that we necessarily have, or that I have access to like a great broker specific dashboard. I mean, we have a ton of other dashboards that I could use as an example if we need to. And text IQ examples and stuff like that. But you can also ask Gautam, you know, what other dashboards or resources, you know, y'all might be able to get access to showcase that. But yeah, we can always show some of that from our side as well. I think Gautam would probably also be the person to start with as far as getting the additional functionality turned on. I don't know how they set up your account or what that looks like, but he would probably at least have knowledge on how that typically works for partners and be able to get more information on what else could be activated.
Yeah, we can work with Gautam and Dan close. Okay, from that standpoint.
My other question, so for the demo, this was, you know, looking through that ICM piece, are there things that are available to showcase, or is it part of the plan to kind of talk about, okay, now what's the member experience and intercepts where they would be engaging, or are we just kind of saying, here's all the pieces, the personas, and the process, this point along the process that we considered and that we are, you know, able to do. For example, we're just showing you kind of this one.
Yeah, I think, you know,
For
or you go ahead. Let's go.
sorry, Tom. Yeah,
Nope, go ahead.
for this particular, you know, point in the prototype, we're just focusing on the broker, but 100% yes, we, you know, to impact the overall experience and really get it optimized, we need to go through the active agent journey as well as the member journey. So yeah, it's something that we'll propose, you know, to the prospects and to LA Care, but just for this proof of concept at this point, we just focused on the broker.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would always, to me, end every demo like going to LA Care's site and putting on the Qualtrics Intercept and obviously transitioning into, you know, I hope at some point they would raise their hand and say, can I use this for my members, right? But I think we should definitely, because that's where they're going to have the biggest your biggest upsell, right, into those, because they have millions of members. They might have hundreds of thousands of brokers, but they're going to have millions of members.
Right. Yeah. And I think just for my sake and kind of our side, just knowing like what are we pitching now as a proof of concept, and how are we talking about like this entire program? It's like, here's all the things that, you know, we think we should be doing. Here's kind of these key moments at these different points with different personas, and all of that's possible. Here's an example of that in broker. Go through it all. The same type of thing can be done, you know, across the board for all these other experiences too.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, and the people that we sell to, there's definitely going to be, well, obviously there's going to be people who manage these brokers, and then there's going to be people who are more responsible for members. So if we can get them both in the same room, but either door we can get in, the better, right? I mean, if they'll let us in, talk to me about how I can improve my broker experience, and then we pitch members, great. If we get in the door, tell me about my members, and we, you know, then we can also pitch the broker, and then obviously the employee, which you guys have already. That was the third one. So.
Yep. Cool.
Excellent. As far as next steps, so we'll reach out to Gautam. We'll share the video link out to everyone. Is there, Tom? Can you, for the LA Care call, can you forward that invite to Mary Beth?
Yeah, I think Darren said it's not going to be next week. It's going to be the week after, but I asked him about that today.
Okay. And then we'll get the same, we'll do the same. We'll share this with Trevor for him to look at, and then we will share with him the invite for Kaiser as well. And then we'll get with Gautam and Dan Close to look at what additional functionality we need in our demo system.
sounds good.
I would just have one last question to you. Have you ever had customers in this scenario where they have some legal issue around recording by basically they need to anonymize the responses, or is that going to come up with any of these cases, do you think?
I mean, it's always possible to, like, just like you pulled in, you know, who the authenticated user was through embedded data. You know, we can always opt to not have any of that information. You know, there's definitely drawbacks to not having it, because then, you know, you have less flexibility for reporting out on it, or potentially like that getting follow-up process. But, you know, it's not like it's not possible.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking if I needed to be prepared with, hey, this is how, if you do have that scenario, here's how you can manage consent of, you know, between a broker who says, or broker or customer, whatever, who says yes versus no. I'm still trying to work through that scenario. So at least if they ask me that, we could say, well, yes, you can, and you can obviously leave it up to your end customer to decide if they're going to share that info or not, versus all on or all off.
Yeah, and it would be interesting, I guess, to know from like an LA Care point of view, like, is that something that they generally would make a sweeping call or not? And, you know, does it come down to legality type stuff? Because depending on that, it's like, yeah, we can collect PHI, we can be, you know, all these compliant things and high security as far as data collection and storage. So it'll just kind of depend on what the question is and, you know, why it's being asked, but we can always figure it out.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, yeah, appreciate it. We'll pass the link over to me. I'll get it out to the team, and just kind of let, you know, everyone on the team know that this is something that's being piloted and what to expect. Kind of, if anyone else has input as well, we can pass that along. But appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mary Beth. Thanks so much, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a great rest of your afternoon, and we'll be in touch soon. But yeah, if someone can either forward me an invite, or Tom, when you talk to, I think it was Tom, when you talk to Darren, just tell him to put me on that. That'd be great. I don't think it's already on my schedule, so that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Mary Beth. Appreciate all the
Thank
input.
you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks
care.
for your work.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.